Okay, so I got the ball joints in. There are two nuts and a bolt that hold it in. The Moog one that I got comes with grease fitting I need to put in the bottom there, and I need to grease it apparently. So this comes with the Zerk fitting for the bottom here. Comes with the castle nut. Comes with the cotter pin and red Loctite. There's not a chance I am using that. I will not use red Loctite on anything in my car that I think I might someday remove again, which is just about everything. So I even thought about using maybe blue Loctite, but I don't think I'm going to. Even the service manual doesn't specify using any type of Loctite on it. The torque spec is 66 foot-pounds, which is not too terribly much, so I don't think it needs red Loctite. Personally, I used anti-seize, and I'm going to mark these bolts, and I'm going to watch them, and if they start to loosen, well, then I'll do something different. But until then, 66 is the torque spec, and I did 47 with the 30% reduction on these. So I think they'll be good, but we'll see, So I'll keep an eye on them, and I'll definitely make sure to let everybody know if I can. So it's coming right along. Looks a lot different. My new parts are disappearing, and my old parts pile is growing. Most of the corners are pretty well done. Gotta do brakes and stuff, but there's my old parts, and you can notice there's not many new parts around anymore, and I've only got the brakes to bring out still. I'm gonna finish up this corner here in a little bit, but I can close my hood now. Well, I got a little overzealous on the installation here on the driver's side. I will kind of slow down and go through everything on the passenger side. But basically, I got the strut in at the top here. Put those the three nuts up on top. The torque spec on those is 38. I didn't use any anti-seize on there, so I did 38. And I did actually do something kind of stupid that I had to fix. After I put the strut in, I realized I had the caliper back here, and there was no place to take it back through. So I had to disconnect the top bolts here and lean the knuckle out and lower the CV axle to where I got enough room to slide it through behind it. And it's up over here now. And I went ahead and put the hub on. I slid the axle in, and then I connected the pinch bolts up here on the top, or at least just slid them in, and then pushed the lower control arm down so that I could get the ball joint into the back of the knuckle there. Nothing's torqued down there yet or up here. I was just getting it all in there so that it's in place. And you'll notice I'm trying something out here. I do have anti-seize on my axle there, so I am going to do the torque reduction on the axle nut, and the splines have anti-seize on them too, but all of this is just a real light coat. You don't want to use a lot of anti-seize, so I just basically painted everything. But I'll go ahead and start on the other side and then show you each step of the way. I was actually kind of surprised. The nuts for the tower here are really small compared to the ones that I had before, but they're kind of like, it seems to be like a pinch nut. When you put them on, you can't get the nut fully onto the stud until you torque it. But also this one back here, no way to get a torque wrench on there. I guess maybe unless you were to take out the wiper motor, but for that one I couldn't get a crow's foot in there either. So all I did was took a wrench and gave it a real good torque. Kind of felt what the torque felt like on these two, And then basically this one for me was pretty much just as hard as I can crank it with a standard wrench. So those 3 are tightened, and I'm going to go jump over to the other side and do that. It is kind of awkward getting the strut up in there with the caliper hanging. You had to pull it down and then hang it onto something else. I was actually able to hang it up here to that piece of metal there, but that's also how I ended up with it on the back side. So, and then on this side, I really don't want to hang it on that there because I'm afraid I'll break something. So when I did this, I had to, with one hand, lift up the strut towards the hole, and then with the other hand, guide it up into the holes. And somewhere along in that process, take the caliper down and hang it somewhere temporarily until I could put it back onto the coil spring there. So 2 people sure would be a lot better, at least for this little part of it, but it can be done by yourself. So there's that. Okay guys, sorry I did it again. It's really hard once you get started on this to actually stop and keep track of everything, but I put the 3 bolts on top of the strut, or the 3 nuts. I did make it easier on myself. Instead of holding the caliper while doing everything else, I decided to bring my transmission jack over here. I had already put it away, but I figure this is a good reason to pull it back out. So I just set it there, and this way I was able to work on it and not have to worry about putting it on the wrong side of the strut. But once you get those, it holds this pretty well straight. You don't have really any axial movement on these struts, so you can rotate it, but you do not want to push or pull on it. At least not excessively. The pinch bolt I put in there after I got this up in there, but basically I lubricated the CV axle, the splines and the threads even on the end of the CV axle there. You don't necessarily want to do that, but I'm going to do it and try it out and see how well it works. And if I have any issues. But in any case, I slid that into the back of the hub, and then once that's in the hub, you line up the ball joint on the bottom there, and you kind of have to manipulate it around the stud by moving the knuckle, and then once it drops down onto the ball joint, then you can line up the pinch bolts up here. So you want to just like lean the knuckle out to get the ball joint, and then slide it in once you get the ball joint so that you can get the pinch bolts up here. Now I am going to do anti-seize on these too. I just put that one in to hold it in place, and then I'll do the bottom one and then the top one. And then I think the next thing will just be connecting those brackets, doing the stabilizer link and the tie rod ends, and we'll go from there after that. So one thing I wanted to mention, when you're trying to line up this bottom hole, if you do the top hole like I did, you're going to need to push in on the knuckle to line up that bottom hole, because basically it's kind of pivoted on the top hole. So pull that in, and then it should line up real easy. I'm not sure, you probably need to do the same thing for the top one, but maybe not. We'll see. Yeah, so same thing on the top bolt. When you have it just the bottom bolt in, it's gonna pivot on that bottom bolt, so you need to push in to line up that top bolt too. And you can actually push in on the backing plate at the bottom of it, because it's supported by the knuckle back behind that. And then I did use anti-seize on my pinch bolts, which the torque on those is 177 foot-pounds.
So that torque reduction is going to be really nice, because when you're my size, you got to basically jump on it to get that much torque, and I'd probably mess up this backing plate, but we'll see how that goes.
So I had to share this. I'm pretty blown away by the difference in quality here. This is my old stabilizer bar link, and this is the new one. This is by Mevotech. It's their Terrain Tough Extreme line, and comes with all this. The nice Zerg fittings with the rubber plugs. Got your nylon nuts, a wrench that does 4 different sizes, and nice ball joint and Zerg fitting there. And I mean, look at the thickness of that. It's worlds apart. So if you have a chance to get any of these parts, I strongly recommend it. I wish I would have bought everything of that.
Well, I put the stabilizer bar links in. They're all tightened down. Those ones are 55 foot-pounds. I did anti-seize, so I did 39. But it's really difficult to torque those, especially in the back here, because you can't hardly get anything on it. The only way I was able to do it was with the crow's foot, and same here even, because how can you hold the stud with a socket on it? Unless you get like a pass-through socket or a crow's foot, there's not really any way to torque these, so crow's feet it was. And then I kind of got ahead of myself here. I started on the tie rods. The tie rods, we did put those marks on there. I don't know if you can see, but on the shaft there are paint marks. So I took the nut up above that. I actually counted the marks, or the threads, below those paint marks, just to make sure in case the nut scraped it off, but it didn't. So I got the nut up there, and I twisted the tie rod up to where it was at. If you counted the turns, then just twist it on as many rotations as it was, but in my case I didn't, so I just tightened it up to the paint, and then you're just gonna tighten this nut back to it, and it locks against it. So you're gonna use a wrench here and a wrench here, and basically clamp it against it so that it can't loosen up. Now this end wouldn't loosen up, obviously, because it's got a ball joint there, but back in the inside there's just a joint there, so that could twist pretty easily if this isn't locked in up here. Let's see, I gotta go ahead and one other thing. On the bottom here, I did end up having to pull the lower arms down a bit, because I forgot to put that nut, the castle nut, on top of the ball joint down there. You're gonna want to try to do that before you get the ball joint all the way up in through the knuckle, because with it all the way in, there's not enough room between the CV axle and the stud to get the castle nut on. So if you have to, just stick a pry bar into the lower control arm and fiddle with the knuckle until you can pry it down enough to get the nut in there on top of the ball joint. And I think it's going to be the same issue there. I'm not really sure how they expect you to torque all this stuff, because without crow's feet, there's just not really any way to torque it. But I'm going to torque all this stuff up. I need to torque those pinch bolts. I think that's the next thing I need to do. And geez, not a whole lot left to do here. It's kind of getting exciting. It has been for a while, but the more I get done and the closer it gets, the better it feels. So we're almost there, guys. Alright, so I went ahead and connected the tie rod, obviously. I backed up the nut to lock it in, and I torqued the ball joint here. That one was 36 foot-pounds. I had anti-seize, so I believe it was 26. And once you do get it to the torque, you actually have to keep going until the next hole lines up in the cotter pin. I mean, not the cotter pin, the castle nut. Do not go back. You always want to keep tightening further than the torque till you get to the next one. Don't go past that because you don't want to go more than 60 degrees, which is one flat. And then I did end up, I ordered another tool. Yes, I have a problem. For this ball joint down here, in order to torque that, I found a cool tool. It's an open-end torque wrench with an adjustable open-end wrench on the end. So I'll be able to torque that one. I did the pinch bolts with the anti-seize. It was 124. Regular would be 177, which 177 is a lot, especially for a guy my size who's about 145 pounds. That's a lot of weight, and if I'm jumping on the end of a torque wrench, that's not very accurate. And on these, it says to hold the bolt steady while you tighten the nut. In my case, the bolt pretty much held itself steady. I was just tightening the nut. But basically, once I got to that 124, I was good there. I think that's pretty much it up here. For the brakes in the back, I'm working on the parking brake cables. Now, with the parking brake cables, it was too tight to be able to get the lever on. So I had to go up here in the front, and I had to take apart the center console here so that I could adjust the screw on the side here and loosen up the parking brake. And this is a lock nut, just like what we had on the tie rods, where the one backs into the other. And basically you tighten them into each other and it locks both of them in place. So this one here, you unlock the top nut and then you can turn the bottom one to adjust it, and then when you get it to where you want, then you hold the bottom one and tighten the top one into it. So to get in here, looks like I can do some cleaning here. That's kind of good. To get in here, I used some trim removal tools. These things are really nice to have, and honestly they're not that expensive. If you go on, like, say, Amazon, buy a cheap set, they're really not that bad and they work. This one I used mostly, and I think I used this little guy, but there's a ton of tools in there, and it makes it real simple. I did remove these two screws up here in the top. I'm not sure if I actually had to remove those or not. I think I didn't actually have to. I think that's for holding on the bottom part here. But I removed the part with the shifter first. That it's the same pretty much for the automatic and the manual. It's just the shifter that's coming through. So in any case, that was like 4 clips in there. They popped up on the front somewhere just to the right of that curve on both sides, and then went to the bottom and popped up back in the back there, and then it just kind of squeezed up over the, or kind of just worked it around and got it up over the stick shift. Had to pull the e-brake up to get it out of there, but got it out of there. And then there was this clip on the underside for the DC outlet, I don't know, cigarette lighter, I guess you could call it. That's what it was in the old days. So this clip's kind of a pain. You just have to pry it open. It like pinches onto it, and obviously pop the clip, which This one's pretty easy, it just slides right on. And then for this back piece, again, just more clips. That one, you pull up over the e-brake, had to lift the e-brake cable to get it off, or actually I had to shift the gear shifter forward to get it off, and lift the e-brake as well, I think. But in any case, it's out of there. I was able to adjust it, and back in the back here, where this spring was extremely tightly coiled to where there was no way I could flex it, now there's a little bit of play in it, so I can actually get it to flex so that I can get my lever in. And that lever's gonna go in. Basically, I'm gonna pull these apart, and this lever's gonna go in over that bottom part there, and then it'll go up behind the shoe on the back side, and then we'll go from there when I get to that. Okay, one wheel down. I'm not gonna kid you, I can't stand drum brakes. Disc just seems so much better to me. The parking brake, drum brakes, they're not that bad, I guess, but I'd much rather just slide a caliper over. But in any case, what you want to do here is connect your parking brake cable, which has ended up in the back now, back there. You got to connect that to the lever. Let me show you just on the other side real quick. So the parking brake lever connects there. I actually needed help getting this on there because it was just too hard to hold the two and get the lever in, so you might need an extra hand getting the lever in there. But then you're going to hook it to the shoe here, and then those shoes are going to go up against the sorry guys, the grease spots are on the backing plate here, are where the shoes are going to rest. So you want to grease those up, and you also want to grease up there where it comes through, and also where your I forget what it's called, but the strut piece between here and the other side. So here it's going to be like a wider side because it's actually doing the parking brake and the brake cable, I mean the brake shoe, and then on the other side it'll just be the brake shoe. So that's why the one side is thicker than the other side. So it's actually going to go this way because you need this hole out on the front. So and then go back over here. I'm going to show you how it's done, or how it looks when it's done. So on the bottom, after you, or not on the bottom, on the sides here, after you get that connected, you're going to basically anchor down your shoes. You put the pin through the backside and hold the backside. Put this guy over the front, and then needle nose work real good. There's a special tool you can get, but needle nose work real good. You just push on it, grab the head, and then twist it, and it locks it in. And then once you get those, you want to grease up the adjuster. As far as I can tell, the screw end, or the adjustable end, goes towards the back. And on that spring there, the longer end goes to the right. Towards the front, sorry. So the adjuster towards the back of the car, and the long end of the spring towards the front of the car. So then once you get those, then you want to put your strut in. I think they call it a strut. What's it called? It's I don't recall exactly, but it's some kind of strut, basically. It's just that little metal piece that goes between the two there, and that piece, it's called the parking brake shoe strut. Sorry, I don't know if that really matters, but once you get that in there, then you got to line up these springs. They're a pain. I started with this black one here, or the forward one,
You tuck it into the hole there, and then you have to pull it across. Best thing I found, needle nose back here, pull it around it. It's not easy, they're a pain. That's why I say I don't like drum brakes. And then this one here, you have to wrap around this, and then you have to like tuck it. No, I think what I did is I tucked it in the bottom and then pulled it over and wrapped it around it. But you can see it took me a couple tries. So that one is connected, and I'll go ahead and do the other side and get these rotors on here and get things moving along.